Hello and welcome to episode 26 of Lost in Chronologically Lost.
So, I had a few things I wanted to say about the last couple episodes, and just my thoughts in between watching those and these, before we get started on this episode.
Uh-huh.
So first, I just thought some more about the Hatch and how, you told me about Season 2 really being all about the Hatch, and like you said, it's not that interesting because we know a lot of the answers and they aren't that interesting, where, I'm sure there will be a season about the others, and once there's a season about the others, that's interesting because it leads to character interactions and more things I don't know. But it doesn't feel like the Hatch will lead to anything here. But, surprisingly, these next episodes we watched I actually enjoyed because just because the season as a whole is about the Hatch doesn't mean every episode is. Some episodes will still have interesting conflicts and stuff. But secondly, I just think, I need to see more of it, but I think the man of science, man of faith thing is just a lot less engaging than, Jack's focus as a character being more about trying to save others and putting that pressure on himself. So I really hope that we still get more of Jack struggling with that, because that's the kind of shit I love for a protagonist.
Well, it is, you are still going to have that, but the man of science, man of faith dynamic is one that's going to continue for the rest of the show. And then not necessarily always between Jack and Locke.
Okay.
But it'll come up between everyone.
Yeah. And then I also just wanted to mention I realized that's why season 2's first flashback had his wife being her legs working because of a miracle. That's why we got that miracle to start to set that up.
Yeah.
So anyway, now you want to begin?
Right. So we begin with Charlie asking Hurley, what's in the hatch, and he still doesn't believe that Hurley is rich. So what do you think the flashbacks were for this episode? This also contained the sort of dream sequence where he sees English talking Jin and everything.
Honestly, I don't know. I forgot to think about that. I'm sure it's a Hurley flashback, but I'm not sure which. Maybe stuff with his dad coming back?
No, it was the sort of last day he spends as a poor person.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I like that part a lot. Yeah, and that definitely, that helps set up, that ties in really well with this episode because it's all about him not liking how things change.
Yeah.
So, also just, it's sort of funny that, Charlie wouldn't know about the hatch because he's so busy dealing with Aaron. So, and it's yeah, dude, sorry, but you have had other things to worry about.
You all have been relegated to the B-plot.
Yep. Because as much as the show pretends that the baby is the most important thing, I don't think it is.
Aaron will be important.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Rose is, just doing some laundry, and it's funny how, Rose stopped coming up during season 1, and then now she's coming up again, I think because, the writers now actually know that they're gonna do the whole plot line with Bernard.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, it just occurred to me that, the whole time, I technically knew that, she doesn't know Bernard is alive, but it didn't really sink in that, if you've never seen Bernard, then you would totally, watch her being faithful he's alive and think, wow, there's no way he's alive. But he is.
Exactly. Yeah, he is alive.
Anyway, so Rose does not give a shit about the hatch. Until
Hurley shows her that they are washing and drying machines.
Yeah, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the big sort of discovery here is that Claire finds the bottle full of messages from the raft.
Yeah, that's not good, but I really like it as just a plot point, that's just clever writing that would have to end up somewhere, so it ends up here.
Right.
And
so,
also,
Hurley is...
Well, I wanted to mention that, Rose, when she sees the hatch, she's like, damn, someone lived down here? And it just makes me think back to, in the first scene of season 2 where we see Desmond having breakfast, they totally light that and shoot that in a way to make it look like this happy, bright, cheerful home. And then ever since then, every camera angle and lighting they use in the hatch is just wow, this is like a sewer.
That also has to do with that after episode 1, they changed how the hatch looks, the interior design. And this is actually a thing you could actually... I didn't know if you would pick up on it when we watched it last time. When it's sort of cutting between the different episodes because they were happening at the same time, the hatch just looks different in between those different cuts. And apparently there was fan speculation that meant there was like 2 alternate timelines happening.
I thought you were gonna say 2. I thought you were gonna say 2 hatches, but timelines. Lost fans, man.
Yeah, no, they just decided to dress it differently. So Hurley is making an inventory of food, and I have to. Why would they give this job to Hurley? I really have to wonder. Like,
see, that's the thing. Like, Hurley doesn't fuck it up. I mean, in terms of wanting to blow it up, he kind of does fuck it up, but he doesn't like start eating it. He has responsibility, and I like that they respected him, and I like that he didn't mess that up.
So Hurley is worried that people will hate him over the whole food situation, especially when Kate just comes and just takes shampoo, which is like, this is how they all still look beautiful, is because they have a shower now. So
yeah. And Kate just taking some shampoo is such main character bias. But also Rose says, like, everyone loves you, Hurley, and I feel like she's speaking for the viewers there.
Yeah. So then Charlie is following Locke in the jungle, and he's sort of questioning him, and it eventually goes, I think I'm entitled to some sodding answers, which is like, fans basically wanting to yell at the
And it's funny
writers.
that, like, some of the characters would be like, nope, we can't tell too many people, and Locke would just be like, yeah, I'll tell you, Charlie.
Then we have a whole scene of, like, Saeed trying to get behind the wall and everything, and this mystery of, oh my god, what's behind there? And it's like, what's behind there is a pocket of electromagnetism. That's...
Yeah.
And he says, I haven't seen something like this since Chernobyl. And it's like, well, yeah, that's because, as we know from the whole 70s flashback, a plutonium core was detonated there. So, yeah.
There's just not much intrigue going on with
yeah,
this.
when you know that what's behind there is, it's not something you can actually even see. It's literally, you would just see emptiness.
I literally just have one line of notes about that, because I just wrote, Jack and Saeed looking at the electromagnetism going down. That's it. Because it isn't sparking any desire to ask questions and wonder in me, just because I know that's how it is.
Back in the tail section, they finally take Sawyer out of the pit, and they're like, okay, they believe we were all on the same plane.
Yeah. Which is nice. It would be really awkward if they kept believing they were the others. And Sawyer's just being, like, completely unnecessarily a bitch about it, but I get that he's been through some shit.
Yeah, which is why, Anna beats him up, which is great. Love to see it.
Well, I have mixed feelings on Ana Lucia this episode.
Yeah. So then Charlie is asking questions about Desmond. As soon as he hears that Hurley is in charge of food, he goes to go get that peanut butter.
Yeah, which I feel like at this point I just have a bias against.
Come on, this was great payoff to that whole scene.
Well, at any rate, I think Hurley is right to say, I can't make an exception. But at the same time, if there's one thing that justifies the exception, it is, like, the nursing mother,
Yeah.
But also, like, I mean, the decision Hurley makes in the end is obviously the right one.
I mean, there's a quick scene of Jack seeing Kate out of the shower, because, of course.
Because shipping.
Yeah. Then we get the tail group. They walk to the Arrow, and they're like, oh, here, we got there. It's like, and when people were watching this, it's like, oh my god, they have their own hatch, they have their own blah blah. But it's like so much
this is
more lame.
It's the shittiest base in existence.
Yeah.
It's just a concrete room with barely any lights. And Echo, like, actually apologizes to Sawyer, and, like, these episodes, Ana Lucia, I have mixed feelings. Echo, I just love. Echo is a good boy. Also, it's funny to me that, like, even, like, Michael and Jin and Sawyer, they don't know about the hatch, so they have nothing to compare to.
Right. So then we see Claire. She gives the raft messages to Sun.
And she buries them. Or does that happen yet? But at any rate, it's sad to see her going through thinking Jin is dead. It's definitely sad, but I'm also like, okay, but he'll be back. Man, where the fuck is Sun in Season 5?
We will get there when we get there.
Oh, man.
So
anyway,
Hurley is mad at Locke for telling people that he's in charge of the food, and so he decides to blow it all up.
You know, the thing about that is, I feel like you could make exceptions if you just ran them by Jack, because Jack's the leader, and it's like, just make it not just you. Make it so like, okay, if an exception has to be made, don't blame me, blame the guy above me. But yeah, he just decides to blow it up. And I thought he was going to try and blow up the whole hatch because he's still freaking out about the numbers, but instead it's just the food. And it's kind of jarring how quickly he decides to do this and how quickly it gets resolved. But like, it's kind of true that the greed for the food very much could divide them. And if they just immediately told everybody, that could cause a lot of problems.
Yeah. So, and then we also get a nice montage of everyone eating food.
Yeah, I think that just sharing it with everyone is like the right decision. Because yeah, you aren't gonna make that last with that many people. Just from how much we've seen there is. So it's like, don't ration it. Just let everybody have some enjoyment to keep them going. That's what makes the most sense, I think.
Right. And then Sun, she buries the raft messages. And you can see in the scene that as she buries them, her ring kind of slips off. You can actually see it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Most people don't. I remember when I was first rewatching, I was like, yeah, where did she lose her ring? And it was like, oh, they literally show you. You're just not paying attention. Because why would you expect that?
And, you know, she got a lot better at burying things now compared to when she tried to bury her fake ID.
Yeah.
Anyway, we also see Ana Lucia arguing with her squad about, you know, what to do. And it's Bernard time. And hell yeah.
And then Sun goes, oh, I lost my ring. Oops.
Yeah. I think there's an interesting parallel between how we get Rose and Bernard. Rose doesn't know yet, but we get Bernard finding out that she's alive and Rose having faith, while Sun has lost faith.
Right. Then the tail people, they decide, we're gonna go to the main camp then, if it's so great.
Yeah, I just feel like Ana Lucia just acts so authoritarian here. She's used to ordering people around, she's a cop, and I get that they've been through a lot. The others stole people, Goodwin was a spy, you've been through some shit, but I don't, even with Sawyer being a bitch, I don't like Ana Lucia ordering them all around, because you don't have authority here. Your only authority comes from you beating people up. I don't see why Michael and Sawyer and Jin shouldn't at least have equal say in what happens to them.
Yeah, that's...
Like, there's no good reason for this to be like, Ana Lucia and the Tailies decide what happens, and Michael and Sawyer and Jin are subject to what they decide. That just puts me off.
And Sun, she still can't find her ring, and, you know, Jack tells the story of when he lost his, which is ultimately unhelpful, because his resolution was buy a new one. So what do you think the flashbacks were for this part?
I guess maybe Sun and Jin flashbacks, but I wasn't really thinking about it.
Yeah, it was their whole first meeting thing when, you know.
Okay, that's cute. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, remember Asian Lex Luthor?
Yes.
Crazy times. Feels like so long ago.
So then they.
Wait. There's something. There's a couple details we skipped. I wanted to mention, which is like I like how, like, that they're like Ana Lucia is ordering people what to do, and just like, Jin knows how to fish. You should have him help with that. And also, like, when Michael asks Ana Lucia why they're so on edge, she just sasses him when it's like, it's a reasonable question.
Yeah, I was just about to say, yeah, you know, they see them fishing, and Anna's like, oh, aren't you gonna help? And then he shows like, nah, Jin has a superior fishing technique, girl. He doesn't
need the help. He just gets like a ton of fish. Like, yeah, these guys get to eat now. They didn't before, they do now. And Libby apologizes to Michael, and
you know, says that the Tailies they're scared, and then she goes, Anna's got trust issues, which is like, yup, big time.
She mentions the others come from that way, and of course,
Michael has to run after Walt. And, you know, it's a funny thing, a lot of criticism for Michael's character is that he spends all his time yelling Walt. I was watching a lot of Season 1, and for most of Season 1, he's fine with not doing that, right? But even the very first thing you see of him is him yelling for Walt in the pilot episode. Like, it's...
I mean, honestly, just thinking back to all those Michael flashbacks, I got really invested in just Michael getting his son back. And to some extent, I still am. Like, they've been through so much. Susan still sucked. He deserves to have his son back. His son deserves to have him. And fuck the others.
Yeah. So, Jin and Echo are going to go after Michael, while the rest of the tail section is just going to move on.
And Ana Lucia just doesn't care, and it's like, come on. You gotta save lives here.
Sun starts retracing her steps with Hurley, who thinks that the dog ate it.
And we get Hurley saying, "So, Soul, is that in the good Korea or the bad Korea?"
Hurley, that's such a him thing to say.
At first, I didn't care about helping Sun find her ring, because it just doesn't matter. Jin's alive anyway, it'll be fine. But then we saw them waiting for Vincent to poop, and I did like that.
So Jin is searching for Michael when he gets hit by a boar, because, of course, that just happens all the time here.
Yeah. And they find Goodwin's body, and I like how Jin is like, others, and Echo just nods, and they're like, they have an understanding that was necessary.
I like how this also means that that the others wouldn't have taken his body back to, like, bury it or something, like...
Well, yeah, because Ben is, kind of, simping.
We have Sun tearing up her garden, looking for the ring.
Locke comes and gives her a handkerchief.
Yeah.
And she says she's never seen Locke angry.
And it's like, you just haven't been around for when he's angry. That's...
Well, true, but he also is like, no one here deserves it. And it's like, yeah, his dad deserves it.
Mm-hmm. And then gives the whole thing of, you find things when you stop looking for them, which... Usually that's because what happens, at least for me, is I stop looking for them, and then months later, I find the object while I'm looking for something else.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's always in the last place you look.
And then the sort of end catch scene is that we see the others are walking with the kids, wearing very raggedy clothes compared to what we've seen them wearing in Dharmaville.
Yeah. It's almost like they didn't know what the others would be. Echo points out that they don't have Michael because the directions they're coming from, because Echo is a good boy and a smart boy.
Yes. And we have Kate trying to comfort Sun, saying like, Jin's all right. And Sun's like, no, he's not. Okay, I found the bottle with the thing, so he's not all right.
I mean, he is, so I'm just not completely invested. I wondered while watching these, like, did we see the Sun stuff before we got to see the Jin stuff, or like any of them being alive? But no, it seems like it's all happening together.
Yeah, it was all happening together.
So because of that, I don't know, I just think it's not that interesting when I know how it's going to be resolved.
Right. So Sawyer is tiring out due to his, infected gunshot wound.
Yeah. This is where I remembered that Ana Lucia has also met Jack's dad. They should really talk about that.
I mean, what is there for her to say? Like, I met him, and what?
Yeah. Yeah, I need my crossover episode moments.
Michael...
And now I feel like we almost get a bit where it feels like Sawyer and Ana Lucia are starting to get along better and banter a bit because they're both kind of brutish.
They are both brutish.
Yeah, and they're sarcastic with each other. They're fitting better. Then yeah, so Echo is like, wait, I'll go find the trail, and then he leaves, and then like 5 seconds later Michael shows up and Jin has to chase him. But it's okay because Echo could just track where Jin went.
Right.
And also probably hear them shouting.
Yeah. Eventually Jin gives approval to Michael to go get Walt. We have Kate. She's going through the notes from the raft because she feels bad about not saying goodbye to Sawyer, which...
Yeah, but it shouldn't be about Sawyer.
I know.
And also still you shouldn't look through the notes. And Sawyer didn't write a note, I don't think.
No, he didn't.
Like, what does Sawyer have to do with this even?
I mean, I guess she didn't know he didn't write a note.
What did she think? It's Sawyer. Anyway, Shannon and Saeed.
Well, before that, Sun finds her ring in the sand there.
Okay. Yeah, good for her. Shannon and Saeed want to get nasty.
Right. What do you think the flashbacks were for this now?
Probably something Shannon, maybe like her stepmother fucking her over just because we gotta get the Shannon stuff out of the way!
Yeah, well, that's the only Shannon stuff left, so...
We will have things to say about that at the end.
Yes. So, yeah, she and Saeed are hooking up.
And we do see Amelia and Sawyer being lost, kind of, and Sawyer just says he does not give a shit about Michael or his kid, and that's when Michael shows up.
Yeah, and Echo says, we gotta go because we saw the others.
Shannon sees Walt, and it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, you see dead people on this island, lots of Magic Island stuff happens, but of course nobody is going to believe her.
And also,
almost,
you know what? Obviously
honestly,
he speaks backwards, but you know what he says?
What does he say?
He says, they're coming.
The thing is, like, what's even the point of Shannon seeing Walt? Because I would think that would go somewhere, like she would get some important information that would be a real plot line. But I don't think it's gonna matter, because all that did was lead to the ending that we got.
Right. So, the whole thing with her seeing Walt is Walt keeps giving her, like, a shh sign, and in backward speak says, they're coming, and then later he'll say, they're close. So it's like, it's like this astral projection of Walt is trying to prevent her from dying.
Yeah, but then it just...
But she dies anyways, so...
But he's what causes it!
Yeah.
It just feels like the plotline doesn't really do anything for the story.
Right.
It just feels like it only existed to get rid of her, while at the same time conceptually being something you would lead to way more than that. That would lead to way more than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also get a bit with Charlie and Claire because the baby's awake.
Yeah. And then we have Shannon leaving because Saeed doesn't believe her.
Yeah. And then we get Echo says they're about a day away, and I'm like, yeah, I want to see everyone get to meet. I'm not so sure about that after the ending, but... So... We get Hurley and Rose hanging up some clothes.
Yeah, Rose says she doesn't like the
Rose
hatch.
just like... Yeah, which... Kind of fair.
Yeah.
Like, Rose is an old person who gets it, so she is not in a hurry. She doesn't mind hanging up everything to dry the sun. She just living her life. What does the hatch really help you with?
Yeah.
And we get Shannon asking them where...
Yeah, she's trying to use Vincent to track Walt, but instead...
Which is another thing that I think could have made way more of a good plotline, but seems to have only served for the purpose of getting rid of her.
Yeah, like, I would have liked to see a plotline where, say, that did work, and then she, like, gets captured by the others or something, right?
Yeah. Like, that could be what leads the characters to the Dharma base.
Yeah, but instead, Vincent takes her to Boone's grave because, of course.
Because we have to have Shannon feeling sad.
Yeah.
So then Locke swaddles Aaron so he doesn't cry. Claire is complaining that everyone knows more than her. And she mentions how, like, she doesn't... Well, Charlie acts like they're married when she doesn't even know enough about him. Because he could be a religious freak. Because he has the Virgin Mary statue.
And then Locke's just like, oh, come on, Charlie. We already went through this episode together.
On Charlie. Ugh. I mean, we talked about it an episode or two ago, but it's like, yeah, why would you keep it with you?
So back at the tail section, Echo and Anna are arguing over what route to take.
They're walking on some rocks that look like exactly where Desmond's ship was.
They are. So yeah, they are.
I mean, is it literally... I mean, there's frankly not that many reasons it couldn't be literally the exact same rocks.
I mean, they do show an aerial, like a far-off shot of the coastline, and it is that type of rock all the way down, sort of, at least in that section, so there's presumably in Oahu actual miles of section that are like that.
Yeah.
But the place that they are filming at is exactly the same.
Echo wants to cut through the jungle, and Ana Lucia's like, you risk your lives to help him? And like, yes! No shit. I don't even like Sawyer, but like, yeah, try to save people. Ana Lucia just looks at it all like there's us and we matter, and not us, their lives don't matter. It's like, I don't agree with that.
You know, Anna explains how the others they took people, and that's why she's so paranoid about everything.
Yeah. Well, she explains because Michael is like, seriously, tell us what the fuck is going on, which is justified.
Yeah. You know, Saeed comes and tries to comfort Shannon, being like, "Oh, this is all about Boone." Obviously.
It's like, no, it's not.
And she's mad because he still doesn't believe her, so...
Like, it's very obviously not about Boone. Boone doesn't even factor into this.
Yeah. Don't you...
And it's just, like, kind of frustrating because it's like, there's no nice resolution to this. Locke and Charlie play backgammon. Locke talks about how he doesn't want to overstep, and Charlie says that Claire has to learn a lot about responsibility, and Locke is like, interesting thing to say for a heroin addict.
Yeah, and he's basically being like, I know you're still carrying around the statue with heroin in it.
Which, like, that's a low blow of a thing to say, but it's like, he does have it.
You know, tail section, Sawyer collapses, so they end up making a... Oh, what do they call it?
The stretcher.
Yeah, a stretcher for him to carry him. And as they...
I mean...
Okay, actually, that's later. Then we have Saeed, yelling at Shannon that she'll never be able to find Walt because Walt's not here, and she's mad because he still won't believe her that she sees Walt, and that Walt's in trouble, which he is. Like,
we start to see hear the whispers. I mean, not see.
And
the
they took
whispers,
Cindy.
we get a
The others
screen.
have taken.
Oh yeah,
flight attendant.
Which that was so like, how did they do that without anyone seeing?
They did. So it's like, yeah, I can understand why she's being absolutely 100% paranoid now with everything.
Yeah, Ana Lucia. I wonder, Ana Lucia sure is a kind of person who would immediately shoot in situations where that's not necessary, and I wonder if that ties in to other parts of her character and backstory. In fact, I almost think we have seen a backstory where she had that exact issue, that she is very quick to pull out the gun.
Yeah. Again, it is kind of hard in her world to falter here, because if you're just seeing this from sort of the view where we've also seen in the main section, the others, Ethan did come and he stole Claire, he almost killed Charlie, he did kill one of the other people, and then the only way to stop him was Charlie shooting him a bunch of times. Like, that was just...
But, like, she didn't even see who it was. She, like, shot without even seeing who it was, and then suddenly Shannon is dead.
Before that, Shannon, she falls, because of course she falls, because she's running through the jungle and everybody falls. And she goes, "Do not help me up." Like...
Oh, yeah. Because everybody fucking falls.
And they have this whole nice scene where she's so sad, Saeed doesn't believe in her, and thinks Saeed is just gonna leave once everything is over. And he promises he won't. And I have to be like... I'm like, but I'm like, what if you did get rescued? I'm like, are you just gonna not go see Nadia? Like...
That's true. I didn't even think about that. Michael and Saeed and Shannon are a good relationship, but then Saeed's character is so built around searching for Nadia.
Yeah. And then they both see Walt, and she's finally just vindicated because he sees her too, or he sees him too. So she runs after him, and Anna shoots her, and she dies.
So let's dissect this. What the fuck, Lost writers?
Okay, you want to know? They said we killed Shannon because we couldn't figure out what to do with her. They had no... and I'm just like...
Come
I'm like,
on.
you set up this whole
There's
thing
so
where
much
she's
to
seeing
do with
Magic
her.
Walt. I'm like, you could do a thing where she does follow it, and she gets captured by the others. Or you could have her team up with Michael because Michael's not seeing Walt, but she's seeing the visions of Walt, and they team up to go try and find Walt, and they both get captured by the others, or something like that.
Just in general, she has an obvious unfinished character arc where she feels useless. Everyone treats her as useless. She doesn't help anything. So
and just at the point where she's like actually super trying to change that is when they kill her off.
And like I really wanted to see that.
Yeah, I'm like,
going.
you wrote half a character arc here.
Character. And of course, like I was saying before, like it's what was it? Like I was saying before. It's so pointless because she sees Walt, who is trying to keep her from getting killed, but then the only thing that Walt causes to happen is that she gets killed because she only goes out there to get killed because she was searching for Walt. Where it's like, this entire plotline existed to get her killed. And at the same time, she dies in such circumstances. Like, it feels random, it feels unlucky. Ana Lucia shot before seeing who it was because they happened to run into each other, and Ana Lucia's aim was good enough to get her, and it's just like, realistically, this could have been so easily avoided. It was so unlikely, but the writers had to contrive it to happen because they wanted to get rid of her. So outside of the show, looking at it from the outside, god damn it, writers, you fucked this one up. Inside, god damn it, Ana Lucia.
Yeah, there was more they could do with Shannon. If they had to kill someone else in this plot, I mean, even knowing what future plot lines happen with some people, I'd be like, why not? Like, if you needed to kill a young hot blonde, why not kill Claire? Which is a horrible thing. I mean, I'm just saying. I know what her future plot lines are, and I know that they can be interesting. But I'm like, I don't know. I like Shannon. I would have liked to see her character arc resolved. It feels like Claire's is already resolved just by being a mother to Aaron now.
I just feel like, I feel like they're just not gonna take Aaron's mother away. That just feels like that would, because then I mean, who's Aaron gonna breastfeed?
Yeah,
from?
I know. It's just
they're not gonna deal with that.
Like, obviously in that situation you can't kill Sayid because Sayid had, like, you saw the 70s arc. He has too much to do. That's important.
Yeah. Also, talk of Sayid, it really sucks for him to lose Shannon like this.
Oh, he's pissed.
Like, Sayid, I didn't... Before we got to the island, I didn't realize how much I would like Sayid. But he is absolutely one of my favorite characters. He's likable, he's competent, he's very smart. He is just a good dude. I really like seeing him do things. And it's such an interesting thing to see the contrast between the Sayid during the 70s, who has so much pain and so much inner conflict and thinks of himself as a bad person. And, I mean, I know that something's going to happen, like him torturing Ben, I think. So, like, that's going to happen.
Yeah, after he tortured Sawyer, he literally left the camp.
Yeah, so him losing Shannon isn't, like, a direct cause of that stuff later, but it definitely feels like a step on the road of seeing how he becomes such a pained, troubled person. And I just, that's upsetting.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they did have too many characters to keep juggling, because Lost has so many characters, and they're going to kill off more, especially when they're introducing the tail section as more people.
Yeah.
But
you know what? At least we'll get Juliet someday.
Someday, yeah.
Why'd you say someday in that tone of voice? The way you said that sounds like it'll either happen in a really long time or next episode.
I mean, Juliet will still have flashbacks that are happening while the main cast is doing other things. So you'll...
Oh, yeah, huh. Yeah,
I forgot
about
following
that.
the Lost timeline, looking at the timeline when I was looking at the thing to keep track of where the episodes start and stop, right? It said that like some scenes of her were supposed to happen during the course of these two episodes. So I'm like, okay, so are they gonna... I'm assuming that she will show up at least in one quick scene in the next episode. Maybe, again, the order of this cut and what the wiki says is different, so...
Anyway, I have more to say about Ana Lucia. I liked Ana Lucia a lot during the flashbacks. She's a girl boss. But, like,
Yeah, she
I was
gaslight
questioning some of
gatekeep
her
girl boss.
decisions.
That's what Anna does.
She was over aggressive. She killed that guy, but at least with that guy, I don't agree with killing. But you can make an argument for killing that guy. She had reason to get revenge. But then it's like she acts so authoritarian and aggressive with Sawyer and Michael and Jin, that just kind of off-putting. But you know what? She's been through a lot. Once they get to the main gang, then I'm sure she'll chill out a bit.
Well, you think they'll let her into the main gang after she's killed one of them?
That's the thing. It's like, okay, it's like, even if she didn't mean to kill an innocent person, you can't take this back. This has been done. You are a killer of an innocent person. And it's just like, I was looking so forward to seeing everyone meet and everyone get together and seeing the character interactions and the reactions to what each other's lives have been like. I want to see Bernard and Rose be together. I want to see Echo just be there in general. I wanted to see, like, a contrast between how Jack acts as a leader and how Ana Lucia acts as a leader. I thought that would be really interesting. And now it's just like, when you meet, the fact that you killed Shannon and you killed the one that Saeed loved, that is going to hang over you, like, forever.
Yeah. It was a choice by the writers, for sure. And I know what their choice is. The choice is to make you dislike Anna through these episodes, and then she kills Shannon, so then you hate her. And then the next episode that you would see if you're watching this normally is the other 48 days, where you see everything that Tailies went through. Like...
Yeah, that makes sense. So is that episode, like, pure flashback?
Yeah, pure flashback. You've already seen all of it. That's happened.
Makes sense.
So yeah, there's no more tail section
start to get
flashbacks, so we just have the main section and the tail section going forward as one.
Yeah.
But we still have the others doing other stuff that will get inserted.
Yeah. And I would wonder, I'm sure we'll get Ana Lucia actual flashbacks soon, where, like, we would get to see how, like, just, I mean, they would want us to start sympathizing with her and what she's been through. But I just want Echo to do stuff. I want to see who Echo is going to interact with. And of course I want to see Rose and Bernard reunite.
You don't have any idea of who Echo's going to interact with?
Charlie?
I mean, he does have the heroin statue, but...
the heroin?
I'm saying more ideologically. No.
Locke. Yeah. Locke, because Echo has sort of become a believer and Locke is all about faith.
That's the big thing.
Because I know you've mentioned before, and there was some setup for it that, like, Echo's going to see Yemi, so his plot lines are going to tie into faith.
Well, Yemi's body is literally there. Locke can show him the plane with his body in it.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be some shit. But yeah, Echo and Locke are, like, they're the guys who are faithful, really competent, really badass. They're the reasons everyone else could survive. They're equivalents.
Yeah. So do you have anything else to say about these episodes?
God damn it, Ana Lucia.
So I hope you'll join us next time, where we will cover episode 48, November 8th to the 9th, and episode 49, November 9th to the 12th.